So it's great to be back with you again, Nóirín. And I know that we've both been really energized by what happened at Nóirín and hearing from a lot of people after that. And I suppose since we met for Nóirín, like even more so than it was then, kind of the whole like issue of women's history in Ireland, about the darkness that has been experienced, has really come up so much, and especially just at this moment, this week and last week, you know, you can feel it really in the air, and it's been very visceral. You know, just I think kind of for everyone to open up again to the past in Ireland and to the institutions and everything that's happened. And I think sometimes, we mentioned this before, we kind of talked about the difficulty with spirituality in Ireland. And sometimes there can be kind of almost like a schism between, you know, like the idea that you can either be kind of a spiritual woman, or you can be a woman that's raging against those systems, but difficult to have kind of a place to balance those two. And then when I look at you, I see some sort of balance, because I see that you're so connected to Irish spirituality, but in no way do you seem like a woman that's kept down. And I just wondered if you had a perspective on that.
Well, I suppose on a personal note, Gráinne, the story of my life could be defined as living on the edge, on the Imbolc, as my little house is called, because I've never really felt, that's why I suppose I identify a lot with Brigid, who is a threshold figure. She's neither here nor there. And again, I feel that very strongly too. And of course, it's not just me, I feel it for women in Ireland too, particularly of my age, but we can talk about yours as well too. That's, I think, one of the treasures we have to offer, is that we can span those ages and experiences, you know. So Brigid is, of course, from the word bro, sayed, which means the fiery one, the exalted one, the high one, you know. And so she's a great role model for us at this time, being, of course, pre-Christian as well as Christian, and known, of course, there as the Holy Woman, which embodies both what would have been called long ago the Christian saint and the pre-Christian goddess. But a great role model for us on so many levels, on kindness, on peace, because turn back the streams of war is one of our big phrases. Turn back the streams of war. And certainly we need that now more than ever. But a threshold figure, very much inspirational, and a star, you know, a light. And of course, Gráinne, we will be lighting, we'll be inviting people who will join us to light their flame wherever they are, connecting us with that fiery flame of Brigid. And then, of course, it's not just Brigid we'll be celebrating. You very cleverly came up with doing our celebration on the eve of Imbolc. And that's wonderful, because when anytime we hear Eve, we of course think of the evening, but we also think of the first woman, Eve. And of course, the fourth thing, I think there was a Saint Ephraim in the 4th century, and he connected Eve with Mary. And then, of course, we call Brigid Muire na Gael. So they're all there in a circle for us, a circle that we'll be working around so beautifully in our body work with you. So that's starting with Eve, who birthed the first human being, Adam. And then we come along to Mary, who birthed the first person of the Spirit, Christ, which is us too. We have that divine spark as well. And then we have Brigid, birthing Ireland, because Ireland is so important as the new way forward for the world. And I think our little tiny piece of the jigsaw, the huge jigsaw, is part of that, Gráinne.
Yeah, I love a lot of what you brought up there. So like the edges, thresholds, because thresholds will be so big within women's yoga, and within just the experience of being a woman is a lot about change, thresholds. And then I think even just kind of picking up there of our little piece of the jigsaw, because we were chatting about that a couple of days ago about like why would we do this, or why are we doing this? And you know, I think what kind of comes up to me is sort of like now, like, well, because we've started it, and because there just is such a power in gathering people. And this is definitely something that comes alive when people join. Like that's where, you know, the real magic is in creating a circle and having people join. And I know that maybe you have other perspectives, Nóirín, on why you are doing it.
And when you ask that question, actually, Gráinne, it makes me sort of nervous, because when we put ourselves out there like this, we're very vulnerable. And so it takes, I suppose, a lot of courage, the large heart there, coming from the French there, to share. But then I always think too of the writer, Jewish writer, Anais Nin. And she said a beautiful thing one time that always inspires me. She said, a time came when it was more painful to stay in the bud than to blossom. So there's pain in it, a vulnerability too, you know, but then also great joy, because, you know, you and I, we feel, certainly my life experiences, I've had so many experiences around Brigid myself, and she's a trickster, actually, she can be a trickster as well. So we have to be careful at this time and stand by each other and watch out for her little signs. But there's so much to share too.